What if I told you that the richest men in history were all running the exact same operating system? I analyzed 4,000 pages of transcripts from the world's best business biographies, covering everyone from John D. Rockefeller in the 1870s to Elon Musk today. I found that while they lived in different centuries and built completely different products, they were all following the exact same ruthless algorithm. It starts with a concept Elon Musk calls the idiot index and ends with a philosophy James Dyson calls difference for the sake of difference. These aren't just business tips. These are survival mechanisms from the killing field of Silicon Valley and the oil age. We are going to strip away the PR and look at the raw mechanics of how these empires were actually built. The first rule of the Titan's algorithm is what I call the maniacal filter. If you look at Bill Gates in his 20s, he wasn't just smart, he was obsessed. He famously said, "I didn't believe in weekends. I didn't believe in vacations." He was known to work for 36 hours straight, collapse under his desk for 10 hours, and then get up and start coding again. This isn't about hustle culture or performative workaholism. It is about a binary state of existence. You are either totally apathetic or you are completely obsessed. Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, said that Bill Gates wasn't just Edison, he was Rockefeller. He was utterly relentless. And you see this same trait in Elon Musk. When Tesla was facing bankruptcy during the production of the Model 3, Musk didn't just manage the company, he slept on the factory floor. He demanded what he called a maniacal sense of urgency from everyone around him. If you are not obsessed, you will be beaten by someone who is. That is the filter. It weeds out the tourists from the titans. The second rule is about understanding the physics of your business better than anyone else. Elon Musk calls this the idiot index. This is a calculation of the cost of the raw materials in a product compared to the price of the finished product. If the difference is high, it means the industry is inefficient and there is a massive opportunity for disruption. When Musk looked at rockets, he realized the raw materials, the metal, the fuel, the carbon fiber, cost only 2% of the price of a rocket. The rest was inefficiency. So he decided to build the rockets himself from scratch to close that gap. This is exactly what John D. Rockefeller did 150 years earlier. He realized that the cost of barrels was one of his biggest expenses. He didn't just try to negotiate a better price. He bought his own forest. He built his own wood-drying kilns. He cut the cost of a barrel from $2.50 to 96 cents. He knew the cost of his product down to the penny, better than any of his competitors. Whether it's rockets or oil barrels, the good ones know more. They don't rely on experts. They rely on first principles. The third step in the algorithm is simple but brutal. Delete, delete, delete. Complexity is the enemy of scale. Elon Musk has a 5-step algorithm for engineering, and the first 2 steps are make the requirements less dumb and delete the part or process. He famously says that if you are not adding back at least 10% of what you deleted, you aren't deleting enough. We saw this with Steve Jobs when he returned to Apple in 1997. The company was dying. They had 17 different product lines, and nobody knew what they were buying. Jobs didn't try to fix them. He killed them. He drew a simple grid on a whiteboard: consumer, pro, desktop, portable. 4 products. That was it. He cut 70% of the product roadmap to focus on the 30% that were actual gems. James Dyson calls this his anti-brilliance campaign. You don't need to be clever, you need to be simple. You need to strip away everything that isn't essential to the function of the product. If it doesn't add value, delete it. The fourth rule is that the storyteller is king. You can have the best product in the world, but if you can't tell the story, it doesn't matter. Steve Jobs believed that the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world because they set the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation. When he launched the Think Different campaign, he wasn't talking about processor speeds or memory. He was honoring the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels. He was selling a value system, not a computer. Larry Ellison did the exact same thing at Oracle. He knew he needed an enemy to define his brand, so he picked a fight with Microsoft. He created a narrative of Oracle versus Microsoft, even though they were in different businesses at the time. He wanted to be compared to the biggest dog in the yard. By picking a fight with a giant, he elevated his own company to that level. James Dyson wrote little story leaflets and hung them on the handle of every vacuum cleaner he sold, explaining exactly why his machine was different. People buy stories, not just products. If you aren't telling your story, someone else will, and they probably won't tell it the way you want.
The fifth, and perhaps most critical rule, is total control. James Dyson learned this the hard way. He lost his first company, the Ball Barrow, because he didn't own the patent and he didn't have voting control. He was kicked out of his own company. He vowed never to let that happen again. When he built Dyson, he owned 100% of it. He refused to have shareholders telling him what to do. This allowed him to spend 14 years and make 5,127 prototypes before he got the vacuum right. No public company would have allowed that. Rockefeller was the same. He hated relying on others. He demanded that his partners buy him out or he would buy them out. He wanted total control over his destiny. Elon Musk and Steve Jobs were famously controlling over every aspect of their product, from the hardware to the software to the way it was sold. Control allows you to survive the long-term suffering required for success. It allows you to make decisions that look crazy in the short term, but are genius in the long term.
But there is a final part to this algorithm, and it's the price you have to pay. We have to acknowledge the founder's psychosis. These men were not happy in the traditional sense. They were compelled. Rockefeller was calm on the outside, but spent nights worrying about the future. Elon Musk has night terrors and screams in his sleep. Jensen Huang, the founder of NVIDIA, says that he wishes pain and suffering on Stanford students because that is the only way to build character and resilience. Success is a pathology. It requires a trade-off. You have to be willing to be misunderstood, to be lonely, and to be wrong for a very long time. As Rockefeller said to his son, the end is just the beginning. It is a continuous cycle of creation and destruction. So, if you were sitting there working on your first business, or your side hustle, or just trying to understand how these giants conquered the world, ask yourself, are you running the algorithm? Are you fanatical? Are you auditing your costs down to the penny? Are you simplifying relentlessly? Are you telling a compelling story? Are you retaining control? And most importantly, are you willing to pay the price? Because if you are, the world is a very malleable place.